For your annotated bibliography, you will do the works cited information at the top of each source, and then you will do these things. You will summarize the source in 1 or 2 sentences, and then you are going to give me specific parts of the source that you will likely use in your essay. You can always give me more than what you end up using in your essay. So if you have several quotations that you want to include, that's fine. Just make sure that you include the MLA signal phrases and parenthetical citations as well. And then after you've quoted something, as always, you should explain the significance of the quotations. So that really just means connect the quotations you've used back to your thesis. How do these quotations help prove your thesis? Some of you are using some of the videos we've used in class, so I want to make sure you know how to do the works cited for those. I like to use a citation generator, but you always have to check those. But there's no harm in using it as long as you check them to make sure they're accurate. So to use EasyBib, which is the citation generator I use, I need to just copy the address. Then to find EasyBib, I just type in EasyBib in a Google search. And the copied address, I can just paste into the search bar. That URL is that copied address, as you know. Just search. And does that look like what I'm looking for? Is that the same title? Yes, it is. So I'll click Cite. And then it will take me to this page. There are a lot of things in all caps, all capital letters. So if that remains, and I will check on the last page to see if it remains, I will revise those so that they are standard capitalization for titles. I don't want to appear to be yelling at my readers. So I was just hitting continue. It asks me for any other information I may have. I don't really have an author. So let's complete citation. I want MLA 9. Yes, okay. So let's look. All right. There's my citation, and it kept it in the appropriate formatting as far as capitalization goes. So I will just copy that, and then I'll paste it. I will paste it into my works cited or annotated bibliography. I'm just hitting Control V to paste. Now, I don't have my spacing or my font done correctly. Also, one more thing about EasyBib, it may ask you if you want to pay for the service or if you want to watch a commercial. I always just watch the commercial. I'm not paying for that. So anyway, you can see I have a lot of notes on here. I will get rid of a lot of these things, but I want to make sure that my font is all 12-point Times New Roman. I just clicked Control A to highlight everything so that I can make sure all of my content is 12-point Times New Roman. And now spacing. I'll go over here on the top right to fix the line spacing. If you don't have this ribbon, you may need to click this right-hand side. I'm in Office 365. So if you have this ribbon, you can fix the line spacing here under paragraph or here. Notice that the hanging indent is there. Thank you, EasyBib, for the hanging indent formatting. Yes, article titles or titles of videos go in quotation marks. Containers go in italics. The title of the thing after the article title or short story title or poem title is the title of another thing. It's the bigger thing that the smaller thing is in. So that goes in italics. The publisher sponsor is YouTube as well. Here is the date. Remember that if you abbreviate a date, put a period there. You could write out the date in full if you wish. The date should be in MLA format. And then you have your URL, that's the location. Now I don't want extra line spacing between my title and my source. So I just backspaced that, and that made this all centered. Because my title was centered, I backspaced it to my title. So I look up here, is it centered? Yes. I want it to be left aligned. And that messed up my hanging indent. I can go next to paragraph and then go to indentation, and under special where it says none, I can click hanging. Or I can, if I have this other ribbon, I go back to those 3 dots where I did the line spacing. I go to special indent and I click hanging, and that fixes my hanging indent. So if your hanging indent has gotten messed up somehow, check that out. Also, I noticed there's too much space between my title and the source, so I'm going to hit Control A again. I'm going to go back to the line spacing part. I'm going to look at line spacing and click remove space after paragraph. All right, you will have to readjust that as you download your finished work to your computer before you upload it, because it always messes up the spacing again. So check for that. All right, when I have finished my citation, I want to, that's what happens when you leave the link. I don't want to do that. But after my citation, I want to write my annotation. So first I'm going to summarize the article. So I have a very brief summary. I think I can do better than that. I can add some more detail that'll be specific to my topic. So let me work on it. Okay, so I like that a little better. I could add another sentence if I wanted to, but I want to get to the part where I show you how to integrate a source, especially one where you're quoting from a video, as some of you are. So for the parenthetical citation, you want to make sure that you use the timestamp. So I like to have my closed captioning on. It helps me be able to type the exact words, but I want to pay attention to where the timestamp is too. But first I must introduce the quotation. So to introduce the quotation for this content, one important thing is that this video is using research by an author and a well-known researcher. So I'm going to make sure that I give my uploader credit for citing or quoting this person. And that will happen in my introductory phrase. So I ended up adding another sentence because I wanted to make sure that I was using the correct form for making sure that my source was given credit by name, and also explain that I am explaining the source they are using. And so then my introductory phrase says citing Laban. That means they're quoting Laban. The video explains, and then I will add that quotation. So I have my closed captioning on so I can see exactly what's being said. Now, not all the captioning is accurate. Sometimes you're going to have to, if you're using a video, you're going to have to be careful to make sure that the grammar and punctuation are done well, because closed captioning doesn't always do that. And just like in print sources, you don't have to start at the beginning of a sentence you're quoting. You can start wherever it makes sense to you. And with the signal phrase I've already written, I'm going to start with the words when here. When in a crowd is where I'm going to start. Notice your timestamp. So I'm going to make sure that my quotation parenthetical citation starts with 135. Also, you can leave things out of a quotation as long as you're not changing the meaning. I'm going to use ellipses for the stuff that's in parentheses here. So I need to pay attention to my timestamp. It started at 135 and ends at 142. That's my parenthetical citation. Now, for a parenthetical citation to be accurate, you want to make sure that you can tell which source is being quoted by it being connected easily to whatever's first in the works cited for that source. Now, you can use a shortened version of the title. So in your actual paper, you'll want to make sure that you are showing your reader exactly which source you're using, by having the parenthetical citation explain that. And then after the shortened title, if that's what's first in the works cited for the source, then you will have the location of the specific quotation. So if it's a print source, tell me the page. In the works cited, you'll have all the pages listed. Here I have the entire URL listed, but I want to know what the timestamp is if I'm using a video. So source, first thing in the works cited, and that specific place where I can find the quotation. Now what do I need to add? I need to explain how the quotation or quotations I have used help prove my thesis. If you would like to go ahead and add quotations from your short stories to support your quotations that you're using or evidence from the secondary sources, you are welcome to do that. If you're using something that I have posted for you online and it doesn't have page numbers, then you'll just use the last name of the author in the parenthetical citation. Now, if I go ahead and add quotations from the primary sources, those are the short stories, then I have basically written a body paragraph. It's not complete. I'll need to work on transitions between the paragraphs and the ideas, but getting this huge chunk done, getting the research put together is the hardest part, really. The easier part is then taking what you have already written, taking that research and the evidence you've used from primary and secondary sources and paired together and putting that into the paper. I'm going to highlight if you've had me before, you know I like for students to show how they have introduced quotations. You'll notice that I have put this quotation, just little snippets from it, and I have changed some things to show changes. Like I added the word and I chose to change work to working to fit with the grammar of the sentence. So I have taken pack of crazy fools and put it in my sentence, and I have written some more of my own. So this is my own writing. It's sort of like an introductory phrase or continuation. This is sort of an immersion of some ideas from a quotation. So just showing you that the black parts are the parts that come from the original source or the source that's actually online for you. And the red parts are my writing. The bracketed parts are also my writing, but they're within the quotation marks. So the standard is to make those small changes without changing the meaning of the quotation using square brackets. Notice that the online source, this is a free source, which is super generous. Whoever has put together this source, and I should know the person's name, has done it on a volunteer basis, which is great. But sometimes there'll be a word misspelled or something. I think he says live that way for a while, and it says live hat way for a while. So check the grammar and just go ahead and fix it. You can fix it in square brackets if you wanted to show that. I'm not going to square bracket this, but I am going to go ahead and correct it. So if you're just making a change to the grammar to save face for the person who put this online for us, that would be great. I would also add a quotation about the man in the well to go with the quotation that I've used here, because it definitely applies. And you can see that my thesis is on 2 short stories because I'm going for the angle of exploring group psychology, crowd psychology, herd behavior, and I'm exploring that in a couple of short stories. So do these annotations for each source, even the primary sources, which means you really could save the quotations from the primary source for your primary source annotations if you wish. But do it how it works for you. Just make sure that you have quotations for each source. So you could repeat these quotations in your primary source annotation. With the sources in alphabetical order, H comes before J. So here's an example of a primary source. I copied this from